Hey guys, how you doing? So I just wanted to, because I feel like this is something super important because it's came up a couple of times over this past week. And when things happen like that, I always like to make a video on it. That way, like, I don't have to repeat myself. But anyways, one of the things that's really been coming up over this past week or so is like people understanding their gifts and how to use them. And the reason why this is so important is because, um, as we all know, I've said it a thousand times, I come from a biblical base. I will always have a biblical base. But in the Bible, it talks about how each generation will be wiser than the last. So to me, and from what I see, those who have always vibrated at a very high frequency, who have always had, you know, gifts that they may have pushed off and not really been open to, those people are now having children. And those children are being born with a heightened sense of enlightenment. And I see this in one of my best friends, her babies, and just how alert they are and how like they just already have the sense of knowing. One of her babies is like literally 6 months old, but he just like he understands and it's like he understands. So it's super important for like those who have gifts to understand what their gifts are, and so they're able to help their children. So the next generation of children doesn't have to go through some of the things that we had to go through. So they don't have to be made to feel like they're mentally ill because they're a super strong empath and everybody tells them that they're bipolar or whatever when it's really they're around a lot of negative people, and it's the polar opposite of what they are, so it affects them, and it doesn't allow them to find their own equilibrium so that they're able to move forward. But as you, as a parent, understanding, okay, well, I'm an empath, there's a huge possibility that my child will be an empath. So let me get a grounding and understanding of this so I can help my child when I have a child, even if you don't have children, so you can help this child to be able to move forward, or maybe it's the fact that you are you have a strong sense of clairvoyancy. Well, being when you see things, that can be really scary, and especially if you're not told it's okay and then taught how to use that to your advantage. Okay, I see things. I can tell because I also have the spirit of discernment because I've been raised in love and light. I can tell when something isn't of the light. And because I know how powerful I am, I can tell that thing to get out of my way. I can tell that thing to leave me alone because I am not powerful. And that's what, if we as the older generation, the generation that's starting to have kids, if we understand that in ourselves, then when we see these things in our children, we'll know, like, hey, babe, like, I got you. This is what's going on, so that they aren't fearing themselves. Because I feel like that's a problem with a lot of people who are very powerful, is that when the veil is lifted or when we're young and there isn't a veil, we get scared or we watch things like a bunch of TV, and TV like shows us all these like super scary things when it comes to spirituality, when it's not like that. It's not at that level. I mean, it is, but Hollywood has to make sales. So they're going to make things seem a lot scarier than what they are, you know? So that kind of really takes away from people truly getting to know themselves, because you're afraid that like big bad wolf is going to constantly be after you when all you have to do is be like, no, I'm of love and light. You're not welcome to follow me. You are not welcome in my light. And you keep it pushing because that's truly the only way you're able to move forward. But when you're afraid of yourself, when you're afraid of the powers and the capabilities that it is that you have, then you are creating a blockage in the universe because you're not allowing the energy that's meant to flow through you and you're meant to use to your advantage for the betterment of humanity. Because remember, everything that we do is meant to truly better the next person behind us in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's starting our own business, we have to think about how is that business going to help somebody behind us? What are we doing to pave the way? What are we doing that's different than the last person? And everybody's gotta understand that about themselves. I feel like one of the most important things to do when you have a child is honestly to run their chart. Understand, where your child's emotions are, not just the day they were born, but what where's your child's emotions? You know, do they have a strong moon placement? Like, do they have a Cancer moon, who Cancer moons just have a sense of knowing? So you have to listen to your child and you have to understand that the children that are being born right now are crazy powerful. So, in order for them to truly live to their potential, that's why I'm saying that we, as the older generation, have got to understand ourselves, have got to know ourselves, and you also want to know your child's um, rising sign, because that's how who they themselves are going to be, how they're going to see themselves. Like, does your child have a Leo rising? What does that mean? And so that way you're not hindering your child. You find those things, like if someone had a looked at my chart and been like, "Oh, she has a Leo midheaven," then maybe people wouldn't have called me self-centered and vain my whole life. They would have been like, "Oh, she's just being who she was meant to be." So it's literally can be something as simple as that, someone saying like, "Hey, don't be too big-headed. Don't get too big for your britches." Would have helped just a little bit, allowing me to shine and allowing me to have that, you know, um, so you understand. That's why I say not just run your child's chart, run your chart. Understand the way it is that you are, you know, um, and why it is like, for instance, I have Pisces in my second house, which is ruled by Neptune. But in order for me to truly move forward in anything that I do, I have to be confident in what it is that I do, or else it'll never go forward the way I want. So, and that's something that I'm coming to learn in like every profession I've ever been in. I've been like dumbass confident and I've always been the best at what it is that I do. So, like knowing what it is that you do, your chart really does lay out so much for you. And I'm not saying that like, oh, your chart says this, so like that's dead who you are, but like it gives you like the energies and what it is that you may end up coming against. But understanding this about yourself, and maybe you have like Aries in the sixth house, and your sixth house represents like normally the relationship you'll have with your children. So, do you want to put Aries in your child's fourth house, which would mean that they have a very unstable and kind of a hectic home? So, if you see those things, then you're like, okay, what is it that I can fix about myself now before I have children? But not just that, like, really, it comes down to like knowing yourself, knowing your gifts, knowing what it is, and honestly, running your chart. You learn that like Libras, for example, these are just the ones I remember off the top of my head. Libras, for example, they're able to channel spirits, they're natural mediums. Cancers, they have a sense of knowing. So do Virgos. Virgos, on the other hand, they need they need just some quiet space and alone space because they are the hermit to be able to get that sense of knowing because it just comes to them. Sagittarius, they're able to see auras very naturally. They're natural astral projectors. There's so much that goes into it, and we're just taught the basis. What I've come to learn is that a lot of the times what I'm finding is that the elites have made it so everything it is that we should believe in, that we should put our power in, they've made it so that it's, oh, well, don't believe that because how many Virgos do you know that are like that? Okay, not all Virgos are the same, but that's because there's other parts to it. And you don't ever hear about this. You just always hear, oh, well, you were born on this day, so this means this. But like, what does your sidereal say? Because that's where all your like real knowledge comes from. That's where who you really are is because you have to think that the charts that we run on, saying that I am a Virgo, right? I am a Virgo. I'm very, very stable for the most part. Um, However, if you don't take time to like look at the rest of it, you wouldn't understand why it is that most people, when they meet me, see so much fire. There's so much passion. And that's because I have this 10th house Leo, and I'm just like, yeah, baby. My theme song growing up was always I Just Can't Wait to Be King from The Lion King. But that's how like people with this placement are. So you knowing these things and like accepting these things about yourself so you know how to use it. And that way when you have children, you know how to use it. You know how they can use their energy to be able to move forward. But being afraid of yourself, and that's like mainly my point is if you are afraid of yourself, if you're afraid of the person who you are, then that takes and it makes it so that your children are afraid of themselves. They don't know how to handle themselves. And then they have to go through this crisis of, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Is this, you know, they have to wonder. Take that out. Don't allow these generational curses because, as far as I'm concerned, not fully being in power of yourself is a generational curse. Not being afraid of yourself and who it is that you are is a generational curse. So why take and because the people above you were afraid of themselves, which made you afraid of yourself, why not take time now, find out who it is that you are. So it is that when you see this in another person, whether it be your kids, child down the street, or just a friend that you end up running into down the line, why not take this time to know yourself and be like, oh, whoa, I've been through that. I've done that. And like, this is how I was able to move forward. And yeah, it's a big step and yeah, it takes a little bit, but like if I can do it, I know that you can do it because we are all made from the same thing. We're all made from the cosmos, from the stars. We're all omnipotent beings. Like we are powerful. And that's what I really want people to learn is how powerful you are without having to go to anybody else. Like, granted, that's what I do. Honestly, that's what I do. I am here to empower those so everybody can have their connection to the divine. And that's really what my mission is for everybody to have a connection to the divine. You don't have to go to the Most High. As I've said in multiple videos, you don't have to go to the Most High. I do. You can go to your deities, you can go to Shiva, you can go to whoever it is that you want to go to. Go. But I need you to go. The universe needs you to go. Go to this place, find that sacred space within your own heart, within your own being, within everything that it is that you are, to be able to push forward, to so that the next person who needs a push, you're able to push them. And that's really what it is. Honestly, is we get to our level so that we can help the people behind us. Don't forget about the people who are behind you once you get to the point that you're supposed to be at, because you're there so you can help. And all of us are meant to help in one way, shape, or form. Even the makers of places like Mickey D's, you know, originally they were trying to help make a quick meal, something that was enjoyable. Granted, it's become what it's become. I don't need it at all. But I mean, that at the beginning, that's what I'm talking about. Like everybody at the beginning, and it's up to you to make sure that what you start at the beginning does not become corrupt down the road. You know, um, That's why it's so important that you make sure, even as you get the riches, you make sure that your kids are grounded. You make sure that your kids have an understanding. Yeah, we got this, but you know what? You still humble because you have a humble beginning. Okay? You got to understand that everybody is the same. It doesn't matter what's in your pocket. One of my favorite songs from Annie, because once again, I'm a big kid. I just I watch a lot of Disney. So, but one of my favorite songs is "You're Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile." It doesn't matter where you're at, if you're on Main Street or Savile Row, if you do not have a smile, then you're not fully dressed. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is that you bring on the outside if your inside isn't right. That's what matters. So make sure that your insides are right. Make sure that you're getting ample sunlight. Make sure that you're getting good food, good nutrition, that you're nourishing your soul. Because even by taking and meditating and your child seeing that, or somebody else seeing that, then that person's like, you know what? I don't know anything about meditating, but I'm gonna go check it out. You open up the door of possibility for another person just by being you, and that's the type of energy you've got to bring to the world. Is I open up doors just by being me. I open up doors for other people just by being me. That's the type of energy you've got to bring into the world. Alrighty, y'all, I got a couple other projects I'm gonna go work on. Thank you for joining me as usual. Alrighty, have a great day, guys. Bye.